I'd like to live in a world designed by Theodore Finch. I think for a while I did. The book All the Bright Places was good, but I think the ending where Finch lives is better. First, I will give you a brief summary of the book. Then, I'll discuss the original ending. Finally, I will explain the alternate ending that I created. To begin, I will tell you the story of a boy called Finch and a girl named Violet. All the Bright Places was written by Jennifer Niven on January 6, 2015, and published by Alfred A. Knopf. For all intents and purposes, this book is a love story. The book follows Theodore Finch and Violet Markey throughout their last months of high school. Finch is fascinated by death. He thinks of a new way to die every day, but always finds a reason to live and to stay awake. Violet lives for the future. She is constantly counting down the days until graduation so she can leave her small Indiana town and the grief that she's been carrying around with her since her sister died in a car crash. Finch and Violet's story starts up in the school bell tower, up on the ledge. Violet came up there with the plan to jump, same as Finch. But when Finch sees Violet, his plan changes and he talks her off the ledge. The students at school believe that Violet is the one who talked Finch down since he is known around school as a freak. Later that day in their geography class, their teacher assigns them the project of visiting some of the sites of their beloved state before they graduate. Finch then proceeds to tell his teacher in front of the entire class that Violet is going to be his partner. Later that night, Finch reaches out to Violet over Facebook and she agrees to be his partner for the project. The book then proceeds to tell you Finch's 3 guidelines of wandering. No using your phone, alternate choosing where to go, and you have to leave something behind. The book continues with them going on their wanderings to places like Hoosier Hill, the Bookmobile Park, and Before I Die, all while developing feelings for each other. Throughout these wanderings, Violet has overcome her fear of riding in a car and has started to live her life again. Finch, however, becomes closed off. He starts living in his closet, paints his room a different color, and gets into fights. Towards the end of March, Violet becomes aware that Finch tried to kill himself and went to a support group. She found this out because one of her friends, Amanda Mock, was there. This is when Finch starts to close off even more. He starts this process by sending Violet a text saying the thing is, they were all perfect days. The messages that follow all foreshadow to the end of the book. These messages correlate with the last 5 wanderings that they had. On April 26th, Kate, who is Finch's sister, shows up at Violet's house and shows Violet an email that Finch has sent. This email, plus the one that Violet and his 2 best friends receive, causes Violet to realize what Finch planned to do. Now that you know how the book goes, we can finish Violet and Finch's story. Violet realizes that Finch went to the Blue Hole, which is one of the places that they visited when they were wandering. She finds his car and clothes on the bank of the pond. She rushes into the water, hoping to save him. She eventually calls for help, and the authorities find Finch's swollen and bloated and blue body in the pond, and Violet struggles to realize that it is Finch at first. After Finch's funeral, Violet makes the decision to finish the wanderings that they had left. As she goes to the Shoe Tree, world's largest ball of paint, Pendleton Park Drive-In, and the Ultraviolet Apocalypse, she realizes that Finch had also visited each place before he died. The final site on their map was a little church on the side of the road. At the church, Violet finds a letter that Finch had left for her. This is where their story ends. After learning how the book actually ended, we can take a look at the alternate ending that I created. I think the book, All the Bright Places, would have been better had Finch lived. In order for Finch to live, the guidance counselor in the book, Mr. Embry, would have needed to take more action to give Finch the help that he needed. You find out at the end of the book that Finch was never diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but definitely displayed the symptoms to go along with the diagnosis. Had Finch been diagnosed earlier on, he wouldn't have experienced as many highs and lows as he did. With Finch still being alive, he and Violet both would have graduated from high school. Violet would make the decision to go to NYU and get back into blogging. Finch would go to college and get a degree in tourism so that he could show all the people the interesting sights of Indiana and not just the popular ones. Then, at their 10-year high school reunion, Finch and Violet would get back together, get married, and live a life full of adventure and happiness. In conclusion, the book All the Bright Places would have been better had Finch lived. First, I gave you a summary of the book. Then, I discussed the ending of the book. Finally, I explained the alternate ending that I created. As Violet said, she was lucky to live in a world full of adventure that Finch had created for the 2 of them. even if it was just for a short amount of time.